I was twice her size and pretty pissed. I had her slammed face down on the hood in 3 seconds, my first smack landing right between her cheeks. She screamed, more from surprise than pain. I landed 2 more before she started begging me to stop. "I'll get in the car. I'll be good, I promise. Please, no more." By now I had calmed down and was a little ashamed. I let go of her and opened the passenger door. She slid in without hesitation. We had gone a mile when she started to talk. I held up my hand. "Not a word, or I'll pull over and finish what I started. Then I'll leave you where you are. Understand?" She nodded, wide-eyed. I pulled into the parking lot, reached over and threw her door open. "Out. Now." She got out. I slammed the door, pulled onto the highway, and turned the turbo loose, shredding tires. I didn't go back for 3 weeks, waiting until after she had to leave before I walked in, giving Helen the coat, scarf, and gloves. "Here, they're for Amanda. She can wear them, burn them, or stick them up her bum. I don't really care." Helen and Sam looked at me in shock. Then Helen grinned and slapped me. "What the hell was that for?" I asked, rubbing my cheek. "That's for making us put up with a screaming witch for 3 weeks. We wondered what happened when you dropped out." Then Baby all came in, went straight into the back, and started crying. She cried for 3 days before I got it out of her. She's had a miserable life so far. Abused and abandoned at 15. Foster homes until she was 18, and then she was out on the streets. Apparently, she hooked up with a flaming a-hole who tried to turn her out. Take it easy on her, suit. She doesn't know how to handle someone kind and decent. It's a foreign concept to her. She thinks if someone is nice to her, they want something, usually something she doesn't want to give. She stopped, grinning again. She runs to the door every time she hears a bike, hoping it's you. She'd fry in hell before she'd admit it, but she has a huge crush on you. It's gone from witching to whimpering. Give the girl a break. Show up while she's here, give her a kind word, before she tears every head in the bar off. I went to the bar the next night, driving the Dart and wearing a suit. "Amanda, get your skinny bum out here." She peeked out of the kitchen, fear on her face. I gentled my tone. "Come on, baby all. I just want to talk." She eased out into the bar, looking like she was ready to run any second. I had already talked to Sam and Helen, so they knew what I was going to do. "Sam, tell her she's fired." Her face went pale and Helen laughed. "Just for tonight, hon. You still have your job." "That's right. You're still employed, just not tonight. Tonight we're going out. First, I'll take you to a place that serves real food." "Hey," said Sam and Helen together. But they were smiling. Let me rephrase that. Somewhere where burgers and fries aren't considered a full meal. Then I thought we'd see a movie, one of those tearjerkers little girls like you love. Get cleaned up while I drink a beer. People were laughing, and she was red. She unconsciously rubbed her jeans. "Jace, I'm not really dressed to." 10 minutes, Amanda, or we repeat what happened the night it rained. "Clear." She squealed and shot into the back room. I looked at Helen. "Go back there. Use some of your makeup to help her feel pretty, calm her down. It's just dinner and a movie." She surprised everybody by giving me a huge kiss. "Maybe to you." They oohed and awed when she came out, cheeks glowing. Helen had helped her with her hair, put a little lipstick on her. She looked great. I put her hand under my arm, opened the door for her while the gang grinned. They watched from the door as I opened the door to the car and buckled her in. I could hear faint cheers as I drove away. "Anywhere special you'd like to eat?" I asked, as we sped along. I couldn't help driving fast. She had hardly spoken. "Anywhere is fine," she said, looking out the window. I pulled over in an office lot. "Look at me, Amanda." She turned her head. "When I ask you a question, I expect a straight answer. Now again, where would you like to eat? Would you like to try something new? Italian? Thai? Anything at all?" She looked down, and in a voice so small I almost didn't hear her, said, "I've always wanted to try lobster, but you don't have to spend that much money." For an answer, I took her to Red Lobster and got her a plate that had lobster in 3 different styles. She was tentative at first, but gained confidence as she ate. She even tried to get me to take a bite once. "Sorry, Amanda, I don't like lobster." "Then why did we come here?" she asked in confusion. "Because you wanted to try lobster. Besides, I've enjoyed the shrimp." That made her happy, and she had no trouble sampling my shrimp when I offered. After dinner, we went to the movies. There were 8 choices, and I let her pick. Didn't think she was a horror fan, but apparently the gorier the better for her. After the movie, we went to an ice cream parlor, and she got a large banana split with 2 spoons. For a tiny thing, she sure ate a lot. Everything was perfect until we passed a bank, with the time and temperature flashing. Oh shit. Oh shit what? Baby doll? Oh shit, I've stayed out too late to sleep in the homeless shelter. I guess you'll have to take me back to the bar. All right, I said, driving her straight to my house. She sat frozen while I turned off the car and the garage door closed. Amanda, listen to me very carefully. I have 2 bedrooms. One of them will be yours for the night. And it has a lock. You can sleep in a comfortable bed, take a nice shower. I'll even throw in breakfast. No strings attached, nothing owed, nothing expected. Up to you. I'm going inside now. If you don't trust me, lock the doors and recline the seat, and I'll wake you in the morning. It was 30 minutes before she came in. Where's the bedroom? I showed it to her, showed her where the towels were, gave her a shirt to sleep in, and went to bed, laughing quietly as I locked my own door. She must sleep like a rock, because I had showered, dressed, and had breakfast done before I knocked on her door. Time to get up, sleepyhead. Breakfast is ready. I poured coffee, plated the ham and cheese omelet, placed the toast on the table and waited. I had just about given up when she stumbled into the kitchen, still in my t-shirt. It hung to her knees. She looked 11. Being slow to wake didn't hurt her appetite any, and she cleaned her plate. We stacked the dishes into the sink, and I picked up my travel mug. Where do you want me to drop you? She looked surprised. I don't know. I usually hang out at the library until time to go to work, but it'll be 2 hours before it's open. I guess you can drop me by the park. I didn't like that idea. Bums slept in the park. No way I wanted her there, especially that early. I tell you what, hang out here. I'll take the truck to work and I'll meet you after I get off. You can take the dart to the bar. Scratch it, and you better run for your life, understand? Her eyes were huge. You trust me that much? I grinned. You gonna steal from me? She went bright red. I cut her off before she could talk. I didn't think so. In fact, I need the oil changed. Think you could drive it to the Dodge dealership for me? It's already paid for, so you don't have to worry about that. I'll call when they open. Will you do it if they can work me in? She was just nodding her head. I surprised her by kissing her cheek, backing up before she could react. Thanks, honey. I'll call as soon as I find out. Watch television, eat anything you like. I'll see you later. She was rubbing the cheek I kissed as I walked out. Everybody at work remarked on my good mood. A secretary asked me if I'd gotten laid. She said it kind of snippy. She'd made a run at me right after I'd started working there, and I'd turned her down. She was in her middle 30s, a little older than me. I finished pouring my coffee before I turned to her. As a matter of fact, Gail, I spent the night with a hot little redhead almost 10 years younger than me. Remember the energy you had at that age? I'm lucky I can walk. I left her open-mouthed, to the laughter of everyone else. She did get the oil changed for me. I stopped by home to change, and was amazed at how clean it was. It literally sparkled from top to bottom. She must have been at it all day. I had called Fat Boy, and he came by to pick me up so I could retrieve my car. He was grinning ear to ear. What? You and baby all? Huh? Is she as hot in bed as she looks? I looked at him and grinned. You're a dirty old man. You know that? All she got last night was a bed, alone. If you say so, he said, still grinning. I wasn't prepared for what happened when we got there. She ran to me, jumping up so I had to catch her, and giving me a big kiss. Electricity shot through me so hard I fought the urge to look at my shoes to see if the soles were blown out. The bar held. Shut up. She yelled. This is how a woman is supposed to greet her man. I was surprised at the display of emotion. She spent every minute she could close to me, to the point Sam told her if she didn't get to work he was gonna fire her scrawny bum. When I got ready to leave, she asked if I'd stay a bit longer and drive her back to the shelter. How could I refuse? I warmed the car and waited. She came out with a big backpack that I had to put in the trunk. What's in here? Everything I own, she said, sliding into the passenger seat. There's no place safe for me to store it at the shelter. Somebody would steal it in a blink. I thought about what a sad way that was to live as I drove. When I missed the turn to the shelter, she questioned it. If I don't get there soon, I won't have anywhere to sleep. You're not sleeping there tonight. You've got a room at my house. You've earned it, cleaning the house and running errands for me today. Consider it a thank you. She started to protest, thought better of it, and turned the radio to a station I hated and cranked the volume. Tonight, instead of going straight to bed, she took a shower, put on one of my tees, and flopped on the couch, grabbed the remote, and started channel surfing. Hey, I was watching that. It's boring as shit, suit. Besides, I'm your guest here. She settled on some show about 4 girls and a secret they shared. I lasted 5 minutes. If you're going to watch stuff that turns your brain to mush, I'm going to bed before I get infected. Good night, Amanda. I could still hear the TV blaring when I drifted off to sleep. The next morning she woke me up, banging on my door. Breakfast, sleepyhead, she said, parroting me from the day before. Eat it while it's hot. Sausage, home fries, and grits. I was still getting used to them, not being from the South. I will admit they were growing on me. You don't keep much food around, do you? She asked as I ate. Single guy, not home much. No reason to, I said, around a bite of sausage. She stacked the dishes when I was done. Do you need a ride tonight? I asked as I walked out the door. I'm off tonight, she said, but don't worry about me. I have things to do. Will I see you tonight? She grinned. Maybe. You have a good day now. I thought about her off and on all day. She was getting under my skin. I dated some since Becky, nothing serious. Got laid, not on a regular basis, but enough to keep the edge off. In a moment of reflection, I had to wonder how much my feelings for her were pity and how much was attraction. I ran the reasons for and against trying to start a relationship with her. She was way too young. I felt like a cradle robber. She was wounded, loud, profane, irritating beyond words sometimes. We had nothing in common. Her temper had a hair trigger, and many times she acted before she thought. But in the rare times she let her guard down, she was sweet and loving. She was smart, strong, dealing with a miserable fate with all the dignity she could. It occurred to me she'd be a great mother, fierce and protective. The thought of that tiny body 9 months pregnant made me smile. And though she didn't know it, she was beautiful, or would be if she dressed better and learned to use makeup. And the beauty went much deeper than her skin. I wondered where she had gone as I drove home. The thought of her in the shelter depressed me no end. She deserved better. The smell hit me when I walked in the door. I don't know what it was, but it made my mouth water. She must have heard the door, because she came out of the kitchen, hair in a ponytail, wearing an apron. I stood amazed when she went up on her toes to kiss my cheek. Hi, honey, how was work? Was all she got out before she almost collapsed laughing at the expression on my face. Then she got serious. I made you dinner. Nothing fancy. I'm a good cook, but I haven't had much opportunity to practice lately. It'll be ready in 30 minutes. Sit down. I'll get you a beer, or would you rather have tea? After we eat, I need to talk to you. There it was, that determined look she had. I knew it had to be serious. Tea would be fine. Anything I can do to help? She seemed to let out a sigh of relief. I got it. Sit. Dinner was great. Roast pork, basil and rosemary roasted potatoes, asparagus, and homemade bread. Probably the best meal I'd ever eaten. I stuffed myself, then got a little embarrassed. She smiled. I'll take the mass consumption as a compliment. Ready for dessert? She had made a banana pudding, one of the things I'd learned to love about the South. I was almost comatose when I pushed back from the table. She sent me into the living room while she cleaned up. When she was done, she pulled a chair directly in front of the couch. Did you like supper? Is the house clean enough for you? Maybe I've never seen the house cleaner. And dinner was excellent. Where did you learn to cook like that? She looked sad for a minute. Mama wasn't much, but she was a hell of a cook. She taught me a lot, before the alcohol got her. I wanted a hug so badly right then. She shook off her memories and looked me in the eye. I want to make a deal with you, John Charles. I'd like to rent a room from you. I can give you $50 a week, plus I'll cook and clean the house, do the laundry, I'll even mow the yard. I won't get in your way. Please? These last couple of nights have made me happier than I've been in a long time. I just can't face going back to the shelter. Please. She looked at me, full of hope. No. Her face collapsed like a balloon losing air, and tears started. I'll get my things. Will you drive me to the shelter? No. You're not going anywhere until I talk. So sit, listen, and don't interrupt. Promise me. Her face was a mixture of fear and hope. She nodded. I'm happy to let you live with me under these conditions. 1. You will not pay me anything. Your rent will be keeping the house clean, doing the food shopping, and making the meals. 2. I enjoy yard work, so I'll do that. 3. You keep your job at the bar. You can drive the Dart for work and household needs. 4. And this is the big one. You have to go back to school, get your adult high school diploma, or at the very least a GED. She sat with her mouth open. I knew she was ashamed over her lack of education. Maybe this would force her to do something about it. She finally nodded her head. I'll do it. But on the school thing, will you help me? I'll need it. I relaxed, smiling. I'll do everything short of actually doing it for you. Do we have a deal? She jumped into my lap. kissing me until she realized what she was doing and jumped back off. "Sorry," she said, flaming red. I grinned. "I've got one more condition. You have to give me a goodnight kiss every night, and one before I go to work every morning. No deal otherwise." She glowed again, then grinned, holding out her hand. "Deal." We shook and began a wonderful and curious stage of our lives. I asked her the next morning where the food had come from. She gave me the receipts. I paid her back, then gave her my debit card, telling her to shop for food and anything else she thought we might need. I grinned all the way to work, my cheek tingling from the goodbye kiss. You couldn't have blown the smile off my face that day with a stick of dynamite. Gail got catty again. Apparently happiness offended her. "See you little jailbait honey last night?" "Yes, and this morning. She moved in last night." "You should find someone, Gail. It'll make you a much nicer person." Her look as I left would have soured milk. The guys at the bar gave me shit, but smiled when they did it. Sam shook my hand and Helen kissed my cheek. "You're a good man, Suit. I knew she'd get you sooner or later." "We're just roommates, Helen. Nothing going on." She just grinned wider. "If you say so." Amanda smiled so hard I thought her cheeks would get a cramp when she saw me. I was about to order a burger when she stopped me. "Your supper is in the fridge. Microwave 3 minutes. I hope you like it." I had one beer, shot a game of pool with Fat Boy, and went home to a nice dinner. She got off work at 9:30 when the kitchen closed and was home by 10. She went straight to the shower. "I smelled like old fries," she said, when she came out in a robe with a towel wrapped around her head. "What's on television?" So we settled into a domestic routine. I did the yard work, washed the vehicles, while she did the house. She cooked most of the meals, but I insisted on taking her out to eat or grilling for her once a week. On Sundays, if it was pretty, we'd ride, either alone or with our group. She got a new nickname, Mrs. Suit, which she grumbled about but did so with a grin. Her 21st birthday came, and I surprised her with a party at the bar. She even got presents. Soon she was crying, a rare display of emotion for her. She shocked everyone by hugging them in thanks. I gave her a day at a spa, complete with hair and makeup, and a gift certificate to an upscale department store. "I'd like to see you out of those jeans," I grinned as she colored. Helen got on to me, telling me it was time to step up and make an honest woman out of her. "I don't know how she feels about me," I confessed. "You're the biggest dumb in the state. She loves you, but she doesn't know how to love. You need to teach her. It'll be worth it." "How do you know so much?" She hugged Sam when he walked up. "Because 15 years ago, I was her. Then I met Sam, and though it took a while, he opened me up, made me understand there were good men in the world. I just hadn't found one until I met him. I'd been with a bike gang for 3 years. They did terrible things to me and I let them, because I thought that was what I deserved. They messed me up so bad I couldn't have kids. He loved me anyway. How could I fight that? The age difference is bigger than you and Amanda, and we made it. Take it to the next level, Suit. You'll never regret it. From what you said, she's nothing like your ex." I had told them a little about Becky and me about 6 months ago, when we'd had them over to dinner and Amanda had run to the store. She was doing really well in school. She had opted, with my urging to go for a full high school diploma instead of the GED. We estimated it would take another 2 months and she could graduate. They held full graduation ceremonies twice a year as recognition of their accomplishments. Some of the graduates would be in their 60s, but most were like Amanda, kids that got lost in the system. I promised her a party when it happened. I almost had a heart attack when she used my birthday present. She had on a very nice sundress, blindingly white, earrings, and a necklace. I had never seen her with jewelry on, and 3-inch platform sandals. Her hair was teased into a wildly flowing style, her thick locks drifting down her back. She was so beautiful it made me ache. "What do you think?" she said, twirling around. "Did you get your money's worth?" I said the first thing that come to mind. "All they did was polish a diamond. Baby, you've always been this beautiful. The man that gets you will be the luckiest on the planet." She stopped in mid-whirl, her eyes filled with tears, and she bolted in her room. Shit, what had I done now? She came home from school the next week giggling. "What's up?" I said, glad she was in a good mood. "I got asked out by this really cute guy. We've been talking off and on for a month." I felt like someone had driven a stake through my heart. "Oh," was all I said, turning away. She was on me in a flash. "That's all you got to say?" "Oh." I was defensive. "What would you like me to say? You're obviously interested. You've been flirting for a month. Why should I stop you?" She went into her room, slamming the door. I sighed. That had been happening a lot lately. I was going to have it rehung if she kept this up. I knocked, but she refused to answer. Giving up, I got a beer out and wallowed in misery. By my third, I was pondering the mysteries of women before dozing off. I woke when she shook my shoulder, gently. "What?" I said, trying to focus. The big four came out of her mouth. "We need to talk." I was instantly alert. Nothing good ever came after those words, in my experience. "Do you like me?" I couldn't read her eyes. "Yes, I do," I answered honestly. "How much?" "I don't know what you want here, Amanda. Clue a dense guy in." She slapped the shit out of me. As I rubbed my jaw, she went into a rant. "I guess what I'm asking here is, if do you love me? Not a friend love, but a full-grown man-woman type of love. Because I've loved you for a long time, and you've never noticed. I know I'm a lot younger than you. I'm uneducated, I have no social graces, I'm loud, jealous, scared, and that's just the start. I can't take it anymore. It hurts. So if you don't love me, I'm moving out." I stopped her rant with a kiss. "Hush now," I said sternly. "Are you trying to talk me out of having feelings for you? Because if you are, you're too late. And all the things you say you don't have are no matter. You have something much more important. You have my heart." I think she actually went out when she heard what I said. When she recovered, she was in my lap, kissing and crying until she went asleep. Did we jump into her bed and make passionate love? No. She was still damaged and fragile, so I held her until she cried herself out, took her to my bed and tucked her in, then went out on the back deck, looking at the stars and wondering what happens next. I was out there for over an hour. When I came back in, she had gotten a shirt out, put it on, and crawled back into bed. When I lay down, she snuggled into my arms, mumbled something that sounded like, "Love you," and drifted off again. I held her for a long time, reveling in her feel, before I finally dozed off. I woke up alone, to the smell of breakfast. She was flitting around the kitchen, getting everything perfect. I startled her when I swept her off her feet, kissing the back of her slender neck. She stiffened at first, then relaxed and giggled. "Let me go, honey, or all you'll have for breakfast is burnt waffles." After breakfast, before she cleared the table, we talked. It was Saturday, and we had nowhere to be. She snuggled into my lap. "Honey, you know I love you. Please go slow with me. I'm carrying around a lot of baggage." She told me the story of her life, in between tears and hugs. She'd been happy until she was 10, when her dad died. Her mom was never a strong person, and she slid down a slope of depression and bad choices into a sea of alcohol. She had a stepfather and several live-in boyfriends. When she was 15, one tried to assault her. She fought him off and told the school. They took her away from her mother, and she spent the next 3 years in foster care, in juvenile hall. She had stolen a car, desperate to see her little sister, 9 years younger. It was the first time I knew she had a sister. When she turned 18, the system turned her loose. She ended up with a guy out of desperation. She gave him her virginity. Apparently, it was borderline assault every time they were intimate. Then he tried to get her to hook for money. She ran away and ended up here. My heart ached for her. I want you so bad I ache, Jace, but I freeze up. Help me. So I did, even got her a therapist. 4 months later it happened. We'd been getting closer, touching, talking. She got comfortable enough to walk around in tiny little panties and a tank shirt, and wear slinky little gowns to our bed, which she hadn't been out of since the first time I put her there. Amanda didn't like alcohol, but had developed a fondness for wine from our client. After a half bottle one night, the floodgates opened. I still took it slow, the first time. We made slow and tender love that night. The next morning she woke me up. "Pick," I said, standing in front of the engagement rings. "Really?" she said, the tears already flowing. "Really?" I said, dropping to a knee. "Now you know why I wore the suit. Marry me." After she sobbed out a yes and calmed down, I think she tried on every ring in the store in the price range I could afford. She finally settled on a Simply Stone and band, not the most expensive, but the one she wanted. When we walked into the bar, an instant party erupted. The women immediately huddled, leaving the men standing. "What are they doing?" I asked. The men laughed. "Planning a wedding, you idiot. The best advice any of us could give you is agree to everything she wants, if you can afford it, and stay as far away from them as you can." She wanted a church wedding. We found one close, but part of the deal was we had to attend services for at least 6 weeks before the wedding. It turned out to be a very good thing. The Reverend was a pretty smart old guy, and he insisted on a few counseling sessions first. The disaster that was my first marriage came out along with all the stuff that happened to her. She cried for me, looked me in the eye. and said she would never do that to me. I believed her. We ended up being members, not going every week, but pretty often. I accused her of using it as an excuse to buy more dresses. She hardly ever wore anything else except when she worked. She wanted to keep her job, so she'd have money of her own. The first time you say, "I don't look good in dresses, I'll stop wearing them," she said, smirking. Now she has so many she rotates, putting the off-season ones in the other bedroom. I can still shut my eyes and see Amanda walking down the aisle. The ivory lace and silk dress hugged her like a second skin, highlighting her shape. Her thick mane of hair fell down her back, shining in the light. Helen stood in as mother of the bride. Sam gave her away. Fat Boy was my best man. Everyone from my job was there except Gail, and almost everyone from the bar attended. They escorted our limo to the airport on their bikes. Mom was there. She fell hard for Amanda. She had always wanted a daughter. Amanda warmed up more slowly, but when we left, she leaned in and said something that brought fresh tears to her eyes. I asked about it on the way to the airport. I said, "Thank you, Mom, for sharing your son. I'll return the favor with your grandchildren." It seemed to make her happy. Then she distracted me by showing me hints of her wedding lingerie. We honeymooned in Belize because I had been to Cancun on my first honeymoon, and I did not want overlapping memories. I found out it was the first trip out of the country Amanda had ever been on. It was actually the first trip anywhere. We had a ball. We hit the beaches, and she stayed under the umbrella a lot, her fair skin not caring much for the hot sun. I loved to watch her red hair shine as she walked. She shocked the hell out of me by dragging me to a topless beach. Amanda took off her cover, clad only in a tiny thing. "Shut your mouth, honey. I wanted to give you something to remember." Me walking around almost naked while men drool over me, knowing that no one but you will ever touch me, should do it. I'll admit it, I had to jump in the water about every 5 minutes, trying to get my erection to go down. The water was so warm it didn't help. Her body was small but proportional, making her 32C cups look a lot bigger than they were. Her bum made men stop talking as she walked by. I saw one wife jab her husband in the ribs over it. We tried to kill each other with sex that night. Didn't work, but we almost went into comas. 6 glorious months went by. I made her quit the bar so she'd be home with me. She grumbled, but did it. She was walking around with that secret smile I recognized. She was up to something. To fill in her time, she went back to school, going for a degree in hospitality and food management. I supported her fully, but didn't understand her degree choice. She called me at work, sounding panicky. "Honey, I need you to come home. Now. It's important." I left immediately. She was pacing back and forth, obviously agitated. She rushed into my arms. I was starting to get a bad feeling. I knew it was bad when she started out with, "Honey, do you love me? Do I have to even answer that?" She relaxed, took my hand. "I've got something to tell you, and something to ask you. Hear me out, please, before you say anything." She had been looking for her sister for a few weeks, wanting to connect. She was 12 now, and she hadn't seen her since she was 4. It weighed on her, thinking how good her life was now and remembering her experience with foster care. First, I found my sister. She doesn't even remember me. That was pretty hard. She looks a lot like Dad. "That's great, honey. I'm sure she'll warm up after she gets to know you. Is she in a good home? Adopted? Details, honey, I'd like to meet my little sister-in-law." I was excited, knowing how much she had been wanting this. A tear trickled down her cheek. "No," she said sadly, "she wasn't adopted. And she was in a bad place when I found her. A place so bad they had to remove her and the others from the home." "Where is she now? You haven't lost her again, have you?" She hugged me. "No, she's really close." She took my hand, holding tightly. "She's in the spare bedroom." Well, after I collected my thoughts, I had Amanda bring her out. She was only 12, but she was already taller than Amanda. Her hair was black, her nose was a little broader, but other than that they had identical features. Same mouth, same elegant neck, same expressive hands. She introduced us. I went to hug her and she backed up, so I held out my hand. "It's nice to finally meet you, Celeste. Amanda talks about you often. Though where the hell has she been while I was living in that shithole? Why hasn't she come looking for me before now? I could have been here years ago." The sheer anger in her voice shook me. Amanda stepped in. "I'm here now, honey. I came for you as soon as I was able to. For years ago, I couldn't take care of myself. There was no way I could give an 8-year-old what she needed. I had to grow up first. I'm sorry if you're angry. Let's see if we can make it up to you." Celeste was on a roll. "Oh, that's just great. Now I get to live with the Cleavers?" Wear frilly dresses and giggle over boys? Newsflash, I know all about boys. Why do you think they closed the home down? Guys want one thing, and it's right here. She grabbed her crotch. Just as soon as you're out the door, hubby here will try to make me his little witch. Let's get this over with. Give me some cash and turn me loose, and I'm yours for the night. Deal? Amanda was shocked into silence. I was furious. Maybe we'll just give you a warm bed for the night and send you on your way tomorrow. If what you had is better than what we're offering, go for it. Come to think about it, I haven't offered you a thing. I tell you this, if we talk it over and decide we want you with us, you'll keep a civil tongue in your head and not give us any shit.